Welcome back guys to a new Roblox Studio tutorial. Today we're going to be going over the top 3 tips and advice for scripting in Roblox. So if you're just beginning to script and paving your path to become a better scripter, this is probably the video for you. So we're going to first start with number 1, checking your output for errors. Right. So every time I get people coming from my YouTube tutorials asking me why it's not working, I always ask them to first check their output for errors, right? Because 90% of your errors are going to be displayed in your output right here. So if you actually don't see this, because you don't actually automatically see this once you download Studio, you're going to go on View and then Output. So I'm going to give you an example of how this will look like. Now, as you can see here on context, it will show you all the different types of messages. So output basically displays all the types of messages. It does not only have to be errors, right? So you can also filter them. So there's a client, server, all of this. There's, I think it's this can filter this. So there's warning, error. Warning and errors are the two you want to actually focus on if you're debugging or if you're looking for errors, because warning can also make stuff not work in your game as well. So you want to look for those. Warnings will be in orange and errors will be in red. So I'm going to actually give you an example. I'm going to make a quick script and I'm just going to make a mistake in the script and show you how it will look like. Here. So this is a player added event. This checks whenever a player joins the game, and this is a character added event. Well, it's supposed to be a character added event, so this is supposed to detect whenever a player spawns or respawns. But clearly I spelled this incorrectly, and this is what can cause an error in your game, in your script. So let's join, and we're gonna run and see what happens in the output. So it's gonna say character added is not a valid member of players that recur. This means it did not detect this, it didn't recognize this name as an event inside the player, because clearly we have misspelled it. So this is very simple bug to fix. Just respell it. And I'm gonna be honest, like around 40 to 50% of your errors are gonna be like this, especially if you're new to scripting. You're gonna make a lot of spelling mistakes. Now another thing you can also have an issue with is, for example, not using wait for child. The reason we use wait for child is to wait for a specific object loads. For example, instead of using wait for child humanoid, if it's just humanoid, now it's possible this could work, but it's also possible for it not to work because the humanoid did not load in yet for the player. Now to understand the error message a bit better, let's say I have a folder over here, and let's call this folder or parts. Let's call this parts. And let's say we have all parts here, so let's insert a part. This part will be inside this folder, right? So we can also do or right here, local part equals game.workspace.parts.part. But let's say I move this outside of the workspace, like right here. It will then cause another error because the part is now not inside this folder, and we reference it as if it's in the folder, but it's not in the folder anymore because we moved it from the folder in our Explorer tab. So this is another reason why you can have an error. And to explain what this really means, it means it's not a valid member, so it's not part of the workspace.parts folder because we clearly just moved it. All right, for number 2, it's to organize your scripts. Now I might show you some footage of how I personally organize my script. So instead of usually just putting it in workspace as a bunch of scripts or putting it all in service like a dump or something, usually like to organize them into folders so you can actually know where you're navigating, and it's easier to basically go through them and see what does what, right? And another thing is to also use one script for something, for a group of functionalities that are very similar to each other, so you don't have to go through every script again and again and again. Number 3, now this is pretty important, especially if you're getting more advanced, is always check the wiki. Now right here, this is the developer forum. The wiki is basically documentation for Roblox for everything that's in it. So for example, if you want to learn something new, for example classes or objects, they're all the documentation is in here. There's a bunch of objects here. For example, if you want to learn about like the accessory object in Roblox, everything is in here in terms of objects, like stuff you can, like instances that can actually put in the in your game, right? So these are objects. You can also learn about data types, which are like C-frame, bit color, vector 3, and services. You can also learn services, right? So like tween service, data store service. For example, if I want to make a game and it does rely on a lot of C-frame action, I'll go here and then I'll look at C-frame, for example, or I'll just look at, on the search bar, C-frame. And C-frame is a very complicated subject, so obviously there's going to be a lot of documentation here, right? Or if I want to use a game with proximity prompts, search up proximity prompts, and it should appear right here. It gives you basically a documentation of how to use it and examples and sample code, which is very helpful. Or like data stores, for example. Data stores is a service, right? And it gives you samples of code right here. For example, motors, if you want to do like motors or motor 60s in your game, it gives you all this information that you can use. Now it's obviously a bit confusing, especially if you're new to scripting. This is more for kind of advanced, I'm gonna be honest, because you probably wouldn't know what like for example methods are, right, or events or properties. Well, you probably would know properties, or like return values, for example. So it is a bit more advanced side, but once you do get more advanced, it'll be much easier to understand what these are and how to actually gather this information and use it in your own. So class and data types are the two most important stuff. Enums are basically groups of items. For example, materials is a group of items that are materials. So like brick, marble, sand, wood, whatever, right? So there's also, these are very helpful when you're scripting as well. And global and libraries, those are a bit kind of confusing. But these are mostly like very scripting centric. So you'll kind of learn once you learn scripting. You will learn stuff like quarantine. Math is a library that uses like you can generate random numbers with. You can use like trigonometric functions. You can do ceil function, floor functions, all of these math operators basically. Now we'll make a video soon specifically for debugging errors and fixing errors, because I did went over very briefly today, but that will be coming soon, just for all the different types of errors you can get and how to basically fix them, because 90% of the time you will have an error if your code doesn't work. And that's pretty much it for this video. I know this is a different type of video than what I usually make, but I do want to help you guys out, because I always see people coming to my server and asking for help when they don't really know these basic problem solving tips and how to really gather information. So hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, leave a like, subscribe, and join my server. We do events and stuff like that, giveaways as well. So give me a suggestion down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.